Powder pressing or compaction. The term compaction is used to describe the consolidation of powder particles without the application of heat. The main purpose of compaction is to form metal powder compacts of the desired shape with sufficient strength to withstand ejection from the tools and subsequent handling up to the completion of sintering without breakage or damage. Compaction is followed by sintering to make the finished parts. In other cases, such as cemented carbides, superior properties can be achieved through hot pressing of the component powders rather than cold pressing followed by sintering. Such high temperature consolidation of powders cannot be strictly defined, as the compaction as simultaneous sintering is also involved. There are many methods of compaction, and the choice is dependent on the application as well as the scale and economy of the operation. Most of the methods depend on the application of external pressure on powder contained in a die or a mold. However, some other methods like vibratory compaction and slip casting do not use any external pressure. In many cases, it may be advantageous to cold press a mixture of the component powders because of case of compaction. However, it may not be advantageous always. Let's consider, for example, sintering of compacts containing elemental zinc is difficult, while pre-alloyed brass powder is easily cold pressed and sintered. Now, generally, pre-alloyed powders are hard and cannot be readily cold pressed. Powder shaping and compaction. There are a large number of ways by which a powder particles can be consolidated and shaped. Die compaction at a higher pressure is an important process where densification, which is increasing the density, and shaping occurs simultaneously. See, after compaction, the density can be as high as stainless steel. So, in the subsequent sintering step, the particles are bonded, but densification may or may not occur. Now, an alternative is to use the low pressures and high binder content to shape the powder particles. The binder acts as a glue to hold the particles into the desired shape. Most binders are polymers, which might be mineral oil or polyethylene. In shaping, the porosity ranges from 40% to 60%, excluding the polymer. Therefore, sintering is performed at temperatures where sufficient densification occurs. Fine powders assist in densification during sintering. Thus, key differences between the compaction and shaping are in the forming pressure, initial porosity levels, particle sizes, and sintering temperatures. Compaction relies on high pressure and the resulting porosity is low, while in shaping it is the reverse. The third alternative, apart from powder pressing and shaping, is the full density processing. While it relies on the simultaneous application of the high pressure and the high temperature and is usually used for high performance components used in the critical applications. The differences between the compaction and the shaping technologies have an impact on the production costs. Important considerations are the component size, the desired final density, and shape complexity. A general categorization of shaping technologies is as follows. Binder assisted extrusion. Elongated parts, fine powders, constant cross section, and have relatively simple shapes. Second one, the injection molding. It's for the complex or small components or high performance materials. Slip casting It's for the very large structures, constant wall thickness, and for the low precision. And tape casting used for flat sheets, very simple shapes, and for fine powders. Binders. So a binder is a binder or a binding agent is any material or a substance that holds or draws other materials together to form a cohesive whole mechanically, chemically, by addition or cohesion. The binder is mixed with the powder to form the feedstock. Now, most binders are multiple component mixtures that contain a major ingredient which indicates the basic properties along with the additives used to obtain the other desired properties. As a primary requirement for easy shaping, the binder must wet the powder surface. So, various chemicals are employed to improve the wetting between the powders and the binder. Now, for ferrous alloys, the most common coupling chemicals are sterates, including the stearic acid, the zinc stearate, and ethylene bisteramide. Of these, stearic acid is a low cost polar molecule having a density of 0.85 gram per centimeter cube and a melting temperature of 65 to 75 degrees centigrade. For slip casting, the mixture has a viscosity similar to that of a paint, while for injection molding or extrusion, a higher viscosity mixture having the consistency of a toothpaste is employed. Now, the attributes of a binder include toxicity, cost, flow, and ease of manufacturing. The other important requirements of a binder includes easy removal prior to sintering with minimum contamination and little or no interaction with the powder or ambient environment so as to prevent property changes over time. Now, generally, the binders are either thermoplastics or water based gelatin systems. Thermoplastics allow the mixture to flow easily on heating and become rigid on cooling. Candle wax is a common thermoplastic binder. Wax polymer mixtures are widely employed in powder shaping technologies because of the low cost, easy processing, and lack of hazards. A mixture of 2/3 paraffin wax and 1/3 polypropylene can be molded between 110 and 150. After molding, the wax can be extracted by slow heating, immersion in solvents, or evaporation by healing in vacuum. A related group of binders with high water content and polymer forms gel on cooling and drying. The gels are derived from organic materials like soap, sugar. After evaporation of the water, the remaining gel holds the particle in place until sintering. Now, these are preferred for extrusion, tape casting, and slip casting. Dilation results in a single large molecule that extends throughout the component. This massive three-dimensional network molecule resists flow. Cellulose type gelation binders with water or glycerine are widely used in powder extrusion. Now, the similar concepts are being developed for injection molding binders. The binder system, though sacrificial, is an essential constituent in powder shaping. Several formulations are in use, and various candidate binder systems can be used with any powder or shaping technique. The low cost binders are preferred owing to its transient role. Now, the desired binder characteristics are: a good binder must have a low inherent viscosity at the shaping temperature. It has to be strong and be rigid after shaping. and also it should have a low molecular weight. Second, the powder interaction. Now, with regard to powder interaction, a binder must be wet and adhere to the powder. It has to be chemically passive and also be stable during the mixing and the shaping. And binder burnout. So, with this regard, a binder must be non-corrosive, giving non-toxic products on decomposition, and also it should leave no residue on burnout. Compacting. The blended powders are pressed in dies under high pressure to form them into the required shape. The work part after compaction is called as a green compact or simply a green. The word green means not yet successfully processed. The compaction is done to bring the finely divided particles of the powder into the close proximity while imparting the desired part of configuration. The following methods are used or adopted for compacting: die pressing, centrifugal compacting, injection molding, extrusion, rolling, gravity centering, slip casting, isostatic molding, and explosive molding. Die pressing. The metal powders are placed in a die cavity and compressed to form a component shaped to the contour of the die. Now, the pressure that is used for producing green compact of the component, it varies from 80 megapascal to around 1400 megapascal. Now, depending upon the material and the characteristics of the powder used, mechanical presses are used for compacting objects at low pressure. Hydraulic presses are for compacting objects at a higher pressure. Now, the basic components are the hydraulic mechanism. This is to apply the pressure. A die which has an adequate strength, it has a cavity of the desired shape and the dimension. A feeding device to fill the die cavity, and the punch, the upper and the lower punches to apply the pressure and to assist in the ejection of the green compact, and also the control system to maintain the magnitude of the pressure and the pressure rate application. Now, the single action die compaction, we have this used to manufacture the flat thin parts such as washer, disc, thin rings, etc. The lower punch is stationary during the application of the pressure by motion of the upper punch, acting from the direction only on the powder placed in the cavity. Now, after the compression, the punch is raised in order to eject the part from the die cavity. Now, the advantage of this method is the tools used are very simple and mechanical or hydraulic press may be employed. But the disadvantage in this is that it is not suitable for manufacture of the long parts because of the non-uniform density distribution. Next, the double action die compaction. Here the powder is compacted simultaneously from the opposite direction by both the top and the bottom punches. Equal or different amounts of pressure may be employed from each direction. The die table remains stationary and the upward movement of the lower punch ejects the part out. Now, this technique can be used for manufacture of the thin walled bushings and cylindrical bearings. Centrifugal compacting. So, here the powder is swirled in the mold and packed uniformly with the pressure up to 3 megapascal. The uniform density is obtained as a result of centrifugal force acting on each particle. This method is employed for heavy metals such as tungsten carbide and for the materials that are relatively incompressible by conventional die compaction. The main drawback of this process is relatively a slower process because it takes a larger time for the fluid to be absorbed by the method. Rolling. Now this method is used for making continuous strips and rods having a controlled porosity with uniform mechanical properties. In this method, the metal powder is fed between the two rolls which compress and interlock the powder particles to form a sheet of sufficient strength. It is then re-rolled and heat treated if necessary. The metals that can be rolled are copper, brass, bronze, nickel and stainless steel. Gravity sintering. Gravity or loose powder sintering is used to make porous metal parts from powders that diffusion bond easily, where most of the production parts are generally made from bronze. Now, in this process, no outside pressure is applied to shape the part. The appropriate material graded for size is poured into a mold cavity, which is void in the shape of the finished part. Now, these metal particles are then heated to their sintering temperature, at which point a metallurgical bonding takes place and joining necks are formed at the contact points. Explosive compacting. In this method, the pressure generated by an explosive is used to compact the metal powder. Metal powder is placed in a waterproof bags which are immersed in a water container cylinder of high wall thickness. Due to the sudden deterioration of the charge at the end of the cylinder, the pressure of the cylinder increases. Now this pressure is used to press the metal powder to form the green compact. Cold isostatic pressing. In this method, the powdered material is contained in a tightly sealed flexible mold which is subjected to uniform pressure around 65 to 650 megapascal and is applied simultaneously from all sides, achieving uniform density and strength. After pressing, the compact is removed from the chamber. The pressure transmitting medium used is a liquid such as water or oil mixture. The powder is loaded in a shaped flexible envelope for the production of the desired shape of the pressed part and tightly sealed against leakage. The flexible envelope is usually made from natural rubber, synthetic rubber, plastics, or thin metal foils. Isostatic pressing is generally used to produce large powder metallurgy parts to near net shape. Now, flexible envelope should possess the following characteristics, that is, flexible mold. It must be completely impervious to the pressurizing fluid. It must be easily sealed and it must be rigid enough to withstand the internal pressure. Now, the advantages of cold isostatic pressing is the uniform and high density compact. It produces a high dimensional accuracy, that is a near net shaped product, a better mechanical properties like ductility, strength, hardness. Also more complex geometrical shapes can be produced. It has a higher green strength, also the absence of lubricant and reduced friction. Apart from this, the disadvantages are the higher equipment cost, The productivity is low with this method, and the dimensional control is comparatively lesser to the other methods, and also a flexible mold life is less. And the application of the isostatic pressing is that it is widely used in the aviation, defense, medical equipment, and also to produce cutting tools, automotive cylinder liners, corrosion resistance components, and etc. Hot isostatic pressing. Hot isostatic pressing is a compacting process where the high temperature and the pressure is applied simultaneously in 3 dimensions to produce a dense component. The pressure is uniform in all the directions, so isostatic. Now at higher temperatures, the heated container deforms plastically and the powder is compacted within it under pressure. So no further sintering process is needed, as the combination of the heat and pressure during the process is done. Metal or glass used for making the hermetic container, the pressurizing medium is a gas or helium with a pressure of 100 to 200 megapascal and with a temperature of 2200 degree centigrade. Now a hot isostatic pressing is a combination where the compaction and the sintering process in the powder metallurgy production happens. Also, it eliminates the separate sintering. The advantages are it has little or nil porosity. It has a better surface finish, provides or attains a neat net shaped product. Also improvements in the mechanical and physical properties, fatigue, surface finish, reliability. Also provides a faster delivery and also with a uniform strength with less pressure requirement. But the disadvantage with this method is that it is very expensive and the protective environment is needed. Apart from this, we have this injection molding, which is also a method of compaction of the ceramic powder fed and injected into a mold cavity by means of a screw rotating in a cylinder. Now this method is similar to the plastic injection molding. Extrusion. This is a procedure of metal powder compaction or semi-products manufactured by pre-pressing or possibly by pre-sintering in a continuous strands. The process can be carried out at a normal or elevated temperature or the sintering temperature. Now in the case of extrusion, pressing at normal temperature, a mixture of powder and a plastificator is pressed through a nozzle into the rods or tubular forms. A plastificator is an additive, usually an organic substance, example wax or synthetic resin, which is added to the metal powders in order to form a plastic material suitable for forming. A principal scheme of the direct and indirect way of extrusion is shown in the figure. The extrusion technology is used for all materials which can be processed using a powder metallurgy procedures. These are cemented carbides, high temperature materials with high hardness, and especially technical ceramics. A pressing mixture containing 20 to 30% of the plastificator, which has to be removed prior to the actual sintering. Now the compacting pressure is performed using a piston or a screw. The fine powders require higher pressure than a coarse powder extrusion because more joints occur which are fractured and welded repeatedly during the entire process. Now, schematic diagram of the powder material extrusion machine is shown in the figure. Powder extrusion at higher temperatures is similar to compact material processing. An initial material is in a form of a pre-compacted or a pre-sintered material. To avoid oxidation and contamination from the extrusion process, lubricants, the material can be canned to a container of a mild steel plate. Now, this method allows reaching high density for such materials which have oxide coatings by reason of high affinity for oxygen. Therefore, they are difficult to sinter. For instance, aluminium, magnesium, titanium, high speed steels, etc. Now, the extrusion pressing of sintered materials such as high speed steel or superalloys, where almost porousness structure can be achieved, or we say sintered materials dispersion hardened by the oxide, is very effective. Now, the used cans oxidize during the process, so they are removed from the compact by stripping or possibly by chemical etching. Slip casting. Slip casting is frequently used compacting metal and ceramic powders to make large and complex shape as well as for the limited production runs. A slip is a suspension of a metal or a ceramic powder which is around finer than 5 micrometer in water or with other liable liquid, which is poured into a absorbent, usually plaster of Paris, dried and subsequently sintered. Slips are usually made up of the constituent powders, a dispersing agent to stabilize the powder against a colloidal forces, a solvent to control the slip viscosity and facilitate casting, a binder for giving green strength to the cast shape and plasticizes. To modify the properties of the binder, these ingredients interact, especially in their competition for binding sites on the powder surface. For this reason, the order of addition of components and their mixing lime are also important variables in making the slip. The formation of an appropriate and a consistent slip is important for a successful slip casting. This is usually achieved by maintaining a proper control of particle size and size distribution. The addition of proper deflocquants which prevent the settling and aggregation of the powder particle and maintains the desirable viscosity of the slip. Mostly water is used as the suspending medium, but absolute alcohol or other organic liquids may also be employed. Other additives that are used are ammonium and sodium salts of alginic acid, because they serve the threefold functions of deflocquant, suspension agent and binding agent to improve the green strength of the compact. The slip to be cast is taken in the form of a suspension of the metal powder in a suspending medium. The slip should have a low viscosity so that it can be readily poured. It should be stable during the standing and have a low rate of settling. The slip cast shape should be readily removable from the mold. It should have a low shrinkage on drying and a high strength after drying. To achieve all these properties, fine powder particles which are less than 5 micrometer should be used. Metal powders may be slip cast into the desired shape using porous mold prepared from plaster of Paris. Now, the mold has the negative shape of the article to be cast. The different steps in slip casting are shown schematically in the figure which shows the assembled plaster mold filling the mold and absorption of the water from the slip into the porous mold. Now the excess water can also be removed by external pressure. The finished piece is then removed from the mold and trimmed. Sometimes a mold release agent such as oil, starch or graphite. For successful slip casting, the settling time for the slip in the mold is the time for letting the slip cast shape to dry in the air at room temperature prior to the further drying and melting, which is critical. Now the density of slip casting is considerably higher than the lab density of the powder from which the casting is made. Now since the suspension in the slip decreases the friction between the powder particles, it is possible to make complex shapes by using multi-part molds. Hollow parts can also be readily produced. The success of the slip casting process depends on the rheological as well as the casting process of the slip. The important factors affecting the above parameters are the type of material, the size and the surface area of the powders, pH of the slip and additives that is being used. In addition, processing conditions such as mixing, casting rate and processing temperatures should be kept uniform to achieve consistent quality of the product. Now major advantage of the slip casting are the articles can be made with shapes or in sizes that could not be possibly be pressed. No expensive equipment is required and it bonds best with the finest possible powders which are at the same time most suited for sintering. Now consequently the finished products have excellent properties. Now the principal disadvantage is that the process is slow. So it is more of an art and it has a limited commercial application. It is possible to prepare both low and high density articles by this technique, and the parts such as tubes, boards, crucibles, cones, turbine blades and other parts have been made from tungsten, molybdenum, tantalum as well as the chromium powders. Casting is also widely used for making low cost conventional ceramic articles with excellent surface finishes like basins and water closets. Tape casting. Tape casting, the process that is schematically shown in the figure, is a variation of the slurry casting process and it is used to produce thin flat sheets. This process is also called as the doctor blade process. We have three major steps and they are the formulation of the metal or ceramic slab, drying and tiring. Now this process consists of preparing a dispersion of the metal or a ceramic powder in a suitable solvent with addition of a dispersing agent to improve the dispersion of particles. Now after a satisfactory dispersion is achieved, a binder is added and the whole mixture is fed into the reservoir. The slurry is then fed onto a moving carrier film from the bottom of the reservoir. Now a powder slurry layer is deposited on a carrier film by the shearing action of the doctor blade. It is important that the slurry be free from the air bubbles as it may lead to the porosity in the strips affecting the properties. Now during sintering the binder is burnt off first, and as the temperature increases densification of the material occurs. Present day units use an endless steel belt instead of a carrier tape. Now this process can be used to produce very thin tapes between 50 to 1000 micrometer thick. This method is widely used for producing electronic substrates, dielectrics for capacitors, and piezoelectric for actuators. The different stages in the tape casting process are shown here in the figure. So you have the slip creation, then you have the green tape, and at the end you have the centered tape.